This episode of Motorcycle Adventure Dirt Bike TV is sponsored by Adventure Moto. It's hard to believe that it's been 9 years since the mighty Yamaha Tenere first hit the shores of Australia. Back then, Motorcycle Adventure Dirt Bike TV had the privilege of being one of the first to test this bike on a fair dinkum 6-day adventure in the Victorian high country.
Gotta be happy with that. Look at that, that colour is matching the sky.
It was clear then the stock standard bike had a number of features that made a great foundation for an excellent adventure bike, but it needed some work. In particular, suspension was one of its weaknesses for those riders that wanted to take it way off the beaten track. In the adventure riding community, there is now a library of knowledge as to how to make the Tenere perform better and make adventure riding more enjoyable. But the challenge is getting the right advice from the right people. And Mad TV paid a visit to Ride ADV headquarters and caught up with Greg Yager, the boss of this brilliantly successful adventure company. Greg and his team ride thousands of kilometres on Teneres in some of the most challenging country in Australia. Great bike setup is a must for Greg, and I caught up with him as he was putting the finishing touches on a brand new 2015 Tenere.
Here's something you don't often see, Dave. How new is this bike? This bike arrived last Tuesday. We picked it up and it turned up here. Now, the first thing we do with all our bikes is we get the suspension out. When we get the suspension out, we go down to Technics. Nick at Technics has been working with us now for 5 or 6 years on this setup. We've got 3 different setups. This one's got a modified standard sax shock and a fork setting. Mine runs an Ollins, we'll look at that later, and our third bike runs a Yakuza. Down to Nick's, the forks are pulled apart. They're a very basic sort of fork, and we fit an emulator valve or a VS4 valve, a Technics own part. To the bottom of the valve, Nick fills a couple of oil feed holes, we'll drill some of them bigger. Basically, without getting too much into it, emulators are fitted to it, the correct spring rate, and some adjustments are made to finer tune them. Forks go back in the bike. So with this bike, with the standard sax shock, the shock absorber is pulled apart, the piston is unbanded, different bands put on the piston, and Nick changes the valving, and again the springs change to suit the rate. But you've got to remember, with an adventure bike, it's not just, say, carrying my portly man-sized frame, we're also going to carry luggage on the back, maybe 15, 20 kilos of luggage, etc., mounted on the hoops here at the back. So there's a lot of weight towards the back of the bike. So it's very important that you do it properly. Maybe take the advice of a suspension expert. Even if you change the spring yourself, get some help, get some advice. The big thing with the suspension, and we work with Nick at Technics, is to get a bike that can lug a load and doesn't wear you out. It's soft enough to absorb the little hits, but then able to take the big hits when you misread a track or you don't see that hole or something like that. At the end of the day, you don't want it to wear you out on a 5 or 6 or 7 day ride especially. Alright, so we'll start at the front of the bike and we'll head to the back of the bike. We make just a couple of small changes. The headlight guard from Adventure Moto, just to protect the headlight. The polycarbonate light, they don't give any dramas, but we run the guard just for extra protection. We run a taller screen, a screens from bikes in Melbourne. Peter supplies different screens and Steve predominantly wanted a darker screen on this one. We then move across to the handlebar area. I guess we run Barkbuster bars and bark busters. So the damper on this particular bike is a Scott damper from a kit we sourced from overseas, and no one produces a kit locally for a Scott damper. Had to make a fair bit of modification for it to get it to work acceptably. We'll look at making some modifications and machining up a kit, and the kit will be available with a Scott or Fastways damper from Adventure Moto. We fit a set of Fastway foot pegs to this bike. The mounting kit, they don't make a mounting kit for a Tenere. We machined the adapter up from a WR kit, and you can see yourself how good they look. I'm going to offer a really big wide platform for plenty of peg weighting from when you're riding the bike. We fitted a Touratech gear stick to this bike. Just one of the little mods we do when we fit our gear sticks, we also get rid of the Allen head bolts through the gear stick and we replace it with a 10mm headed bolt, and that way you can access it on the fly, on the track. Otherwise you can't get an Allen key up from the bottom, but you can use the end of a ring spanner. Just a little tip. So a few modifications we make here on this side of it, Dave. We can start with the B&B bash plate that we run that offers good front coverage protection for our water pump and fits in well with the SW Motek Crash Bar. We use one of the old grips because we have a hose exposed here. We slice the grip down and we cover that up just to protect the hose, a little bit of extra protection. We also run a 3-bolt mount water pump protector here. It just gives a lot of side protection for the water pump. And then we run a brake snake because the brake pedals are reasonably soft and can be damaged if you clip it with a log. We fit a Touratech brake pedal widening adapter, just bolts on, nice and easy to fit. Fastway peg, which offers a nice wide platform, which is again why important that we've actually widened the brake pedal through to that area there. So the SW Motek Crash Bar, which we've been running for quite a few years now, offers a nice solid mount up through here, good protection for the side of the fuel tank and this area, good protection for the radiator, the reservoir bottle and down, and bolts up under the tank. Just be aware that the bolt up there is a particularly soft bolt, and it's a soft bolt for a reason. You want something to give and bend. You don't want it to break the mount off the frame or something up there, so don't change it out for a high tensile bolt. We're running a B&B bash plate, and it's got the foam inside it to keep the mud from building up inside it. We don't run that in all the bikes, but just something a bit different on this one. So up in here with the rectifier for the ignition system, a charging system. There was some of them early ones that got water and stuff in the plug, and the plugs would burn out. We put a waterproof grease in all of ours, and we haven't had any trouble. So it's just a case of undoing the two 10mm headed bolts from the front here, sliding the rectifier down, unclipping the plug, putting the waterproof non-conductive grease in, and then putting the plug back on. Seals it up. We fit Barrett exhaust to all of our Teneres, a good quality Australian product, made in the Blue Mountains. Great tone, strong, reliable, never give any dramas. One of the real strong points of the Tenere is the full frame and the strength of it. And the racks mount up the top here, nice and solid, huge big bolt, down the bottom, carry a weight, cross brace to support the rack, stop them vibrating. The bike falls over on the bags, there's lots of strength there, very, very strong. Mostly run Dunlop 606s on the rear. Good tyre, reasonably good wear, lots of grip, very aggressive tyre, road legal. We get a good run of them, very happy with those, and the Pirellis we run as well. We changed the standard 45 tooth rear sprocket for a 46. We find it sharpens the acceleration up a little bit. Doesn't make a big difference, but enough of a difference between second and third gear. We fit out gold chains to all our bikes. They don't rust, less maintenance. That's probably the biggest reason behind them. Early in the piece we identified the cush drive rubbers wear pretty quickly when you ride the bikes aggressively, which we do. So we pulled the cush drive off, Technic Motorsport in Penrith, machined the hub out. We fit a dual race, wide row, twin row bearing. It centres the hub better, runs better, and extends the cush drive rubber wear. This bike's got a Skaggs rack from America fitted to it. They're new to Adventure Moto. We're giving them a try on this bike, and we're also fitting some of our other bikes, but yeah, it's all new. Looks great, nice and strong, nice and light. Looking forward to giving that a run. So this bike, we've fitted the seats, concept seat from Steve's previous bike on. The concept seat just makes a huge difference in the very, very long days. Nice, strong, waterproof, good seat. We run the Dunlop 952. A nice aggressive tyre, doesn't seem to heel and toe like conventional tyres with heavy braking. You get a good run out of them. They're solid sidewall, side steps up and protects the rim well. We're very happy with them. We run the Bark Busters with the VPS covers. Great, strong Australian-made product. A lot of help from Matt Philpott. Also run the weights on the end just to reduce any vibration. The engine doesn't have a lot of vibration, but it just takes out everything through the bars. On our winter rides at Ride ADV, pop these covers off and we fit the Bark Buster Blizzards. Offer really good protection. Keep your hands dry and warm. 3BR USB panel mount. We mount up here to charge your phone or a spare to run a GPS. Get them from Adventure Moto, great bit of kit, waterproof with the cover on, reliable. We run all Garmin at Ride ADV. While we predominantly use the Montana, we're running a Zumo 390 here, Steve's trialling. Just always experimenting with different GPSs, so when we're working with the public and they bring different GPSs, we know what we're dealing with. Good, easy to use with gloves on, plenty of detail with the Oz Topo maps. This bike, as with all of our bikes, all of our Teneres, has an SW Motek centre stand. Just essential for when you're out in the bush, flat tyres, easy to work on, easy to load the bike when you're putting your bags and stuff on the back. Been really, really good. This one's my Tenere, Dave. It's done about 3,500 kilometres. There's a few differences between my bike and Steve's bike. I have an Ollins rear shock, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. I run bags up in the front here for just carry extra gear, gas bottles, nuts, bolts. I run slightly different handlebar setup. I run a different damper. I got a phone mount and normally run 2 GPSs. So my bike's set up with XL rims, just for those odd big hits you have when you're carrying a lot of luggage and you don't see the odd sharp rock or the little washout. So run the XL rims. We tried stainless spokes. They break after a little while. They work hard and break, so we went back to standard spokes. I run pivot pegs on my bike, although I am looking to change out to a set of fastways like Steve's for that extra weighting in the pegs in corners. Okay, we run a set of Tenere driving lights that we got from Adventure Moto. Lefty and I zero out in the morning and ride ADV rides. So we go about 5:30 in the morning. In winter it's very, very dark. These offer a good wide spread while giving plenty of length to the light beam as well. Been a great success, really, really important. Also run a B&B aluminium radiator guard. One of those will be fitted to the bike we viewed earlier, but at the moment we've got one on this bike, offer great protection from the rocks and stones. Fitted rim locks to the bikes, just to stop the tyre rotating, pulling the tube round. We can run a lower pressure, especially when we get in the sand and the mud, but that means when it's set up next to the valve, we've got to then balance it. 4 spokes away from the valve for fast tyre changes. Here's the oldest girl in the fleet, Dave, just quickly. The only biggest difference with this bike is it's got a Yakuga shock in the back. It's a little bit lower. You can see I'll actually go tippy toes both feet on this bike. It's our higher bike. We can lift it up or lower it down. At the moment it's in the lowest setting. Runs the Yakuga shock supplied by Technics Motorsport of Penrith.
A number of the accessories mentioned in this video can be purchased online at Adventure Moto.